Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and I had an idea for a new series, a new top 10 series actually that we could do that could be a lot of fun, and maybe you guys can get involved in it somehow with your comments and all of that. But I thought, as you can tell by the title of this video, we're gonna take a look at the top 10 most broken one drops of all time. It's kind of inspired by a tweet I did the other day about Kobold Librarian being the most broken one drop of all time. So maybe spoilers, maybe not, maybe I changed my mind. But regardless, I thought it'd be fun if we go through every single like major mana cost for a minion, 1 through 10, because zero drops are just 1/1s, whatever. I don't think it'll be really that interesting, but we go through every single mana cost for every single minion. So the most broken 1, 2, 3, 4 drop, whatever. And then we'll put it all together at the very end and come up with a list of the most broken minion of all time. And maybe that one could be like, we could do a community poll after we go through all of these, and let me know what you guys think. If that's something you guys would be interested in, we'll see how the videos perform and all of that. But we'll start off with kind of like a test today. We'll start off with the test, see how you guys enjoy the most broken one drops of all time. So I'm basically going to factor in their original state, the original state of a card before it was nerfed, before it was changed, because a lot of these were nerfed. And, you know, what card was just the most busted in its peak, in its heyday, or throughout the history of Hearthstone. Maybe it was like really dominant for a short period of time and fell off, then it's not really going to be on the list. So this is my list, and again, you guys can contribute in the comments below, and maybe we'll pull it together for when we come together to create the list for the most broken minion of all time. So this is going to be one drops, one mana cards. So let's start off with number 10. I'm going to list the Undertaker. The Undertaker, the Naxxramas card, the 1 mana 1/2 that gains +1/+1 whenever a Death Rattle minion is summoned, and it was nerfed after it like dominated the game for a long time early on, and it was recently unnerfed and really doesn't see that much play outside of like a Death Rattle Demon Hunter, some Death Rattle like Priest, but not the juggernaut it used to be. But it really did dominate the game for quite some time, and the fact that it's still playable in Wild today even after being unnerfed shows that it's really one of the most powerful one drops ever made. At number 9, we're going to go with Cabal Lackey, the mage 1 mana minion. It's a 1 mana 2/1. The next secret you play this turn costs 0 mana. You play this in a Rig Fair game, your opponent wants to concede. You play this with pretty much anything in the Explosive Ruins. It's just incredibly powerful to cheat out that secret turn 1. You could cheat out Counterspell and counter a quest turn 1. It's just incredibly powerful, a staple in Secret Mage, well, basically forever and ever since it's been in its inception, and it's just a ridiculously good card, and it shows that there's a lot of powerful stuff on this list if I'm putting it at number 9, but I feel like there's just so many doozies on this list. But again, let me know in the comments below if you disagree. At number 8, we're going to go with the Warrior Pirate Risky Skipper, the 1 mana 1/3 pirate that whenever you play another minion, it deals 1 damage to all minions, including itself. And this was like the card when it got introduced, I believe during Galakrond's Awakening. It was like an adventure, but basically a mini set back a couple of years ago. It was the best card in Warrior its entire run in Standard. It sees play in Wild, and whether you put it in Odd Warrior, Dead Man's Hand Warrior, Temple Warrior, OTK Warriors, it's just a ridiculously good card, so synergistic with everything Warrior loves to do, with a Lord Barov, with an Armor Smith. Incredibly good card, one of my favorite Warrior cards ever, and definitely absolutely busted one drop. At number 7, we have Animated Broomstick. This card is just insane. It has not been nerfed to this day. 1 mana 1/1 neutral minion that you just battle cry. It has rush itself, but it also gives all other friendly minions on the battlefield rush. And well, you see it in Wild with like Dark Lair Warlock giving giants rush, but even Libram Paladin love this, giving stuff rush. It's just, it gives everything rush, and as long as board matters, which it doesn't really that much these days in Standard, it's why it doesn't see a ton of play in Standard. But if the board matters at all, this card is just so incredibly powerful to give like anything just rush for so cheap, especially when you can cheat out like a giant with it. It's just incredibly good. At number 6, I'm going to go with the unnerfed Penflinger, the 1 mana 1/1 Spellburst minion that could deal 1 damage to anything, but then it got nerfed to its only minions, and good chance it might get unnerfed at some point when it goes back to Wild. But this card was just like in every aggro deck. It was like in every like combo deck. It was in Libram decks. It was in Reno Priest. It was just everywhere. Everyone was being called a loser because the flexibility of this card was so good. It could deal so much damage over so much, like a long period of time. And with all the cheap spells in the game these days, it's just so good. And just, can you imagine this with some of these quest lines right now? Like, it would just be insane, the stuff you could do with this card. Or like Dark Lair Warlock, or self-damaging in the questline Warlock. It's just unbelievably good card, and I'm very thankful it got nerfed, and it still sees play. Even its nerf version, it still sees play. At number 5, a card I grossly underrated when it initially was revealed, is Tour Guide. The 1-mana 1/1 Battlecry, your next hero power cost 0. This has just been in how many decks since its inception? Just cheating out a hero power is super good, whether it's like, especially in Warlock where you have life tap, but a Shaman with the Battlecry deck, with like the Battlecry quest, whatever, it's just insanely good, especially in Baku strategies like Odd Paladin, Odd Rogue. You just love getting a free hero power. It's just something you can bank for later if you want. It's just ridiculously good card, has fit into so many different decks. And it's funny, I think Penflinger, Broomstick, and Tour Guide all came out. Did they all come out the same expansion? Or very close to it. A lot of these cards are very recent. The power level of this game has gotten crazy, but there's some old cards coming up here. So if you're thinking it's a little too recency bias, I got you checked. I got the old cards. And well, at number 4, we got Tunnel Trog, the 1-mana 1/3 Shaman 1-drop that every time you overload, it gains +1 attack, or for every overload crystal. And well, this dominated standard for like 2 years. This dominated standard from like League of Explorers all the way till it rotated, I believe, after Mean Streets came out. So it just dominated for so long. It's great with Totem Golem, Feral Spirits, the 4-mana 7/7. Any good cheap overload card, and it was a lot harder to answer a card like this back in the day when the rush mechanic wasn't around. Removal wasn't quite as good, but it still sees play today, and like overload shamans today in this very game. Is it at the power level of the cards below? Maybe not, but its impact on the game and the fact that it's so powerful to this very day makes it higher on the list for me. But you could argue that a Tour Guide, a Flinger, a Broomstick could be above it, but Tunnel Trog, I just got the PTSD. I think the card's still incredibly powerful, and now with like the overload quest line, it seems like it's kind of back a little bit. So, you know, Tunnel Trog, a very, very powerful card. At number 3, we're gonna go even more old school. This is a classic card, I think the only classic card on this list, and that's Mana Worm, the 1-mana 1/3 mage minion. After you cast a spell, it gains +1 attack permanently. It got nerfed to 2 mana and then reverted kind of back, but to a 1/2. And this card would just snowball and steal games. And it was never around when Cyclone Mage and all these cheap, insane spells, Incanter's Flow, are around in the game. It hasn't literally existed when some of the most broken, cheap spell interactions in Mage exists. So you can imagine how powerful this card could be in today's day if it was a 1-mana 1/3. It's so ridiculous. This card was so good in so many different tempo decks and all of that. It just one of the more problematic 1-drops ever in Hearthstone, and that's the reason it's still a 1/2. They didn't put it back to a 1/3, and I'll be curious if they do take it out of the core set and it goes to Wild, does it get reverted to 1/3? I think it probably would be acceptable in today's Wild, because, you know, well, it wouldn't really matter anymore with the way things are. But yeah, just incredibly good, incredibly powerful, and very, very iconic. At number 2, we're gonna go with Patches the Pirate. The charge version, incredibly powerful, absolutely insane card, auto include in basically every token deck ever, because, well, you just got a free 1/1 with charge, and even without the charge, it's still auto include in so many pirate decks, so many token decks, because you thin your deck, you get a free token, whether you're gonna buff it or it just gets a ship's cannon launch or whatever. It's so ridiculously good of a card. And you know, the fact that you'll just run it in non-pirate decks just to play like 2 pirates just to get patches was just telling of how insane it was. And obviously still sees a ton of play to this very day, and if it had charge, maybe it'd be number 1 still, but even then I still think number 1 takes the cake. And well, you probably know it because I spoiled it earlier. But before we get to number 1, I want to throw out a few honorable mentions. Not going to go into detail of the cards, but there was a bunch I thought about that could be very well warranted on the list. We got Prize Plunderer for Rogue, Flame Imp for Warlock, Malchezaar's Imp for Warlock, Righteous Defender, Leper Gnome, unnerfed Leper Gnome, which was reverted, and unnerfed Abusive Sergeant. But again, there's so many insane 1-drops, you can definitely justify even more. And at number 1, I am going to go with the one I tweeted, Kobold Librarian, the Warlock minion, 1 mana 2/1. You battle cry, you draw a card, and you deal 2 damage to your hero. It's effectively life tap attached to a minion. It synergizes with like everything Warlock wants to do, whether it's the new quest line, whether it's Dark Glare, whether it's a Spellstone, whether it's just drawing cards from your deck, a Defile, a sacrifice target, Plague of Flames, you give it Rush with Broom, it's got to attack, it's relevant, it's basically premium stats. This card has been in every single Warlock deck since it was introduced during Kobolds and Catacombs, except for what? Darkest Hour and even Warlock. Every other Warlock deck throughout the history of time has basically run this, outside of maybe the odd discard Warlock that wouldn't run it, but that was probably just wrong. It's the most auto-include 1-drop in Hearthstone history. Patches, you need to run Pirates. Mana Worm, you need cheap spells. Tunnel Trog, you need overload cards. Kobold Librarian, your deck basically needs to contain cards. So for me, Kobold Librarian, for the fact that it's been auto-include in every single Warlock deck until the end of time, it feels like it's got to be number 1 on my list. But man, you could definitely argue for some others. So again, let me know in the comments below what you think of the series idea, if it's be a cool thing to go through. It won't be every day. It'll be like, we'll just pop it up when we, have some, dead time in the news. Let me know what you guys think. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.